Hi everyone, welcome to Dyslexic Design Thinking, the bigger picture with amazing dyslexics. I'm your host, Gil Gershoni. Our guests today are a dyslexia advocate and speaker, a brand strategist, and 2 choreographers. Enjoy. Hey Susanna, Mark.
Hi.
Elizabeth, hi. Charlotte, great to see you guys. Great to see you. How is everybody doing?
Fine.
Thank you. Excellent, excellent. Susanna, let's start with you. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you had a big day today. You gave another big talk on dyslexia. And tell us in one word or in a sentence, what is dyslexia means to you?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Susanna Cederquist, and I live in Sweden. And for me, dyslexia is about another way of functioning and another way of thinking. So it's both problems in reading and writing, but of course also dyslexic strengths. And it's so important to see the whole picture.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
Mark, nice to see you, man. How's it going?
Yeah, nice to see you. Good. Things are great. I'm Mark. I'm originally from San Francisco Bay Area, but I'm living in Prague, Czech Republic for years now. And dyslexia to me, actually with the AM LEX, LEX is kind of like an acronym, for the best qualities of a LEX person. So leadership, endurance, exploration. But I would have to say of those 3, endurance has the most resonance for me. So, no matter the struggle, the hardships, adversity that we face every day, we move past it, and we get stronger in the process. So it's this resilience. And I have to say, one of my favorite quotes by Lex, Albert Einstein, is, "Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving." So I have to say that's definitely resonates with me.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, I know we're going to get a lot more about AM LEX and about endurance. So I'm really excited to hear some of the things you're doing around that. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome.
Hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well, thank you. I had a really lovely day, and should I?
Yeah, tell us. I mean, you're calling from the UK, is that right? That's where you're from.
Yeah.
And what does dyslexia mean to you?
Dyslexia means to me an educator. It's something that teaches me to think much further beyond anything that kind of limits my belief in who I am and what I'm capable of. And it's like a teacher. It's something that pushes me to grow and just to always be learning.
That's beautiful. It's not always we think of dyslexia as a teacher, but I love the way you and Charlotte really kind of use that as a platform to jump off of and really sort of explore other aspects of the gift of dyslexia. Charlotte, welcome.
Hi.
Great to see you again.
It's so good to be here. Hello, I'm Charlotte. I'm British. I'm British, but I'm currently working in Munich with the Bayerisches Staatsballett, which I don't think I've quite nailed yet. So I'm a choreographer, dance artist, but I'm also the other half of Move Beyond Words with Elizabeth.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's great to have you both here, to have all of you here. Kathy,
hi.
Hi. So do you have a question to Charlotte?
I do have a question for Charlotte. Charlotte, welcome back. You've been on a salon before. It's so nice to see you here. Charlotte, can you tell us, how does dyslexia invite you to tell your story beyond words?
Yeah, this is ironic because I'm going to use words to answer this question. It would be great if I could do an interactive dance sequence. But I think dyslexia is a great source of inspiration, and it invites me to arrive at possibilities other than words, because I'm sure we can all experience this, but I have struggled with using words, and I'm especially thinking about the 10-year-old me at school who would sit and look at a blank piece of paper for hours and probably then only write a sentence after that. So dyslexia has actually really helped me navigate my attention to other places where I can produce like a creative way of thinking to help me develop other forms of communication. And I've arrived at dance and movement, and that's been kind of really useful in the sense that dyslexia has been a bit of a repellent to push me towards something that I can understand, a language that is a better tool for me to use to try and share a story. So yeah, I would say it's really helped me arrive at possibilities and solutions to like movement, like dance, to help share a story rather than stare at a blank piece of paper.
Yeah. Oh my God. And you do it so well. Kathy and I had front row tickets to something that you had done for, was it the Norwegian National Ballet at the Royal Opera House?
Yeah, Norwegian National Ballet.
Oh wow, it knocked our socks off, didn't it? It was beautiful. It was so cool. You had amazing music, you used lighting, you had these cool dancers in knee-high socks. And it was
knowledge.
Like,
that's good.
it was like nothing we'd ever seen before.
I think you made ballet really cool.
Yeah,
you
seriously.
really upped the ante there. You made it just cool for teenagers that were thinking, oh, ballet, it's just tutus and pink shoes. But you had the beats, the lighting.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
This, sorry to just jump in there, but I think this is one of the reasons why Elizabeth and I love choreographing, because you are like a curator of some form. You can think about the narrative of light and what that reads, or music and sound, film. There's so many different encompassing elements that help transcend the story or help explain something that's just really exciting, as well as movement, which is also.
You're very talented.
Beautifully answered.
Don't take compliments well.
I wonder if your dyslexia and the mediums that you chose are kind of feeding each other, right? Do you find that your creativity sort of gets expressed because you're dealing with so many dimensions: sound, light, movement, ideas, collaborations, and obviously partnership with Elizabeth? You know, is that feeds that need?
Absolutely, yeah. I think at school I always wanted to be in the creative side of things. It was always a career in the creative arts. That was really where I feel like I could thrive. And like you said, all these encompassing elements, it's interesting today in rehearsal, I was speaking with one of the, all of the dancers actually, but we were discussing how we should revive the material that we've been creating. What's the best process for us to get this in our body? Because although we can thrive in many elements with creativities, there's some challenges actually, like with retaining information as a dancer with dyslexia. And we were like, should we listen to the music? Then should we do like a run, which is like a kind of we sort of approach it with 30% of our energy, and then we'll do something a bit more full out at maybe 80%. So we've had this sort of journey. And one of the dancers said, when we're working kind of in the studio and just creating movement, I get lost in the silence, and then it's really useful to listen to the music because it helps me find my way again. And what I love is, I was like, I'm writing that down, and I've kind of put it in my notebook to kind of continue with that. And I wanted to mention that because I feel like movement is that music for dyslexia. So like, or arts and creativity is something that helps me when I get lost with my dyslexia. But then also dyslexia is that music in society for me, where sometimes I get lost. I look at my dyslexia and think, right, what can I draw out from this to help me? So I thought that was something nice to share, and yeah, definitely a good reminder that it's an all-encompassing thing.
Yeah,
good source to draw from.
Yeah, I listen to music all the time, and I think part of it, I think to kind of what you said, is to sort of help manage, you know, the gift of dyslexia, you know, or at least sort of regulate it or tone it up or tone it down, you know, and things like that. Elizabeth, how do you dance with your dyslexia?
It's such a big question. In so many different ways. I mean, as I said at the beginning, you know, dyslexia has definitely been a teacher for me, and it's been a real journey to understanding how dyslexia can be that teacher. I think I've got to a place now where I dance with my dyslexia through the work that we do at Move Beyond Words, and seeking out the best in other people to really raise their profile, which ultimately will have a knock-on effect and support other people along the way. So there's so many different things and so many ways that I dance with my dyslexia. You know, at Creative Dance London, we work a lot with improvisation and allowing people to just move and to feel their bodies and connect with their bodies, and to accept that that's okay. That's an okay way of dancing. You know, to really listen to yourself and trust yourself. And I think that for me has been the most incredible way of literally dancing with my dyslexia, is realizing the freedom in movement through improvisation, because yeah, it gives me a space to be. I said it in my you know, in a call earlier, you know, I can be myself and I can trust myself. Whereas when I'm using language, even now, I'm really thinking about what I'm saying and does it make sense? And have I answered the question? You know, there's this continual internal dialogue. Whereas when I dance and embrace my dyslexia for all its faults and all its positives, I can just be, and there's just something so liberating in that space and something so powerful that I wish everyone could have access to. But dyslexia makes it challenging in my reality and in my world, that freedom tastes so good when I dance. So there's a juxtaposition there of having to have the challenges to taste the sweetness of dancing and moving.
Well, that was so beautifully said. I love what you just said about embracing my dyslexia. I was like, wow, you know, Michelle in the chat is wondering how she can help her son sort of see dyslexia as a gift. And I can speak from my experience, and you know, I've talked to all of you over time. I know that the embracing is a big step toward that, right? To be able to, you know, celebrate its differences and find a way for each one of us differently how we dance with it, you know. So well said. Even though you don't claim words, but that was really beautiful. You danced with them perfectly. Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
I would love to hear your thoughts on how does dyslexia changes our understanding of ability and disability. Like, tell us a little bit how you see that.
Yeah, I see that it's so important that we see the whole picture of dyslexia. And it's a problem in reading and writing, and it's dyslexic strengths. I used to call them dyslexic strengths at the same time. And it's so important that we learn more about how to understand dyslexia and how we think. I'm also a dyslexic by myself, of course. How we think and how we're functioning with dyslexia, so we understand the whole picture of it. But it can also be, it was a question here about a son, and it was hard to see the dyslexic strengths in the questionnaire here. And it can be hard if you are in school, because I mean that I just call it text norm. And that is the strongest in school and our education system. So it can be hard as a child to go in school and also see the dyslexic strengths at the same time. And I am also a lot in schools and talk about this, that is so important to see the whole picture of dyslexia for teachers. And I'm also writing a book last month about dyslexia in school, see the whole picture. And there you can read that how you can see the dyslexic strengths in children and also in school, because it's so important that we create an education where you can learn the whole part of yourself, not just the problem in reading and writing, because it's so much text in schools, and that can be hard to see the strengths at the same time. So we need to change how the education system is, so dyslexic children also can learn about the strengths and learn in their ways at the same time.
Yeah.
So I talk a lot about the whole picture. And you mentioned also earlier about the talk today, and I was one of the speakers in BDA's conference, and I'm the chairman or chairwoman of the whole, and that is International Dyslexia Strengths Network. So it was me and also other members in this network. We talk about the dyslexic strengths on this conference today. So we hope that all people or more people would like to focus on the whole picture and also see the dyslexic strengths and learn more about them, because we have so much to win to see the whole picture and understand the strengths about this way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that you've been doing it for about 10 years, haven't you? Sort of this.
Actually 15 years.
15 and do you feel it changing? I mean, in Sweden, and I mean, it's lovely. Everyone's quite connected. We met you through the wonderful Helen Taylor, who runs the wonderful theory. But do you feel like it's getting better?
A little bit better. I started as a speaker and lecturer in 2009. And it's a little bit better now, but we are not where we would like to be. It's so important with this collaboration through different countries, because I have been quite alone in Sweden for many, many years about this view of dyslexic. So I'm so happy to have the other contacts in other countries, and that we can collaborate and do this together to support this way of thinking and this way of seeing dyslexia with a big picture.
And Susanne, does it help having a Prince Carl Philippe, who's dyslexic?
Yeah.
He's quite open with it. So when you have dyslexic kids at school and you go, well, royalty, the Prince is talking about his dyslexia, does that help?
Yeah, actually, the whole royal family is dyslexic, not the Queen, Sylvia, but the rest of them. And yes, it's good, and they have worked with this to share the whole picture of dyslexia for some years now, and I'm an expert advisor to them. So I'm very happy that we are more people now to spread this picture. Yeah. Yes, so that's good. And he was also in London. I was invited to Made by Dyslexia's conference 2018, and I invited him as well. So he were there and also saw this big picture.
Yeah, that's good.
Maybe he can be a guest on the next salon.
Absolutely. I love the idea that you look at the whole picture, and not focus on one side or the other, and really seeing the balance of all of us, right? We all, dyslexic or not, we have, things that we're good at and things that we can work on, but really sort of seeing the balance of it all, that's sort of what it's all about. And it's so important. I mean, so often, as Mark, I know you were talking about dyslexia is really talking about sort of what it's not, right? So really looking at how does dyslexia help see the bigger picture, and how does it sort of change the narrative? Mark, how do you use dyslexia to see the bigger picture in your work?
For me, it's really like it just helps me kind of open up my mind. I mean, this whole idea of like thinking in 3D, I think this is said a little bit like kind of the dyslexics see in 3 dimensions. And so for me, working in advertising and doing marketing and coming up with creative ideas, I can see that the dyslexia really helps me to kind of pinpoint and pick out interesting bits or lead me in directions that may be, especially when I'm with my colleagues or with people brainstorming, like it just takes me on different paths, and it helps me really see unique connections, or take a little spark and turn it into something big. And it just it just leads me in directions that I you know, don't really expect would take me somewhere, but it does.
It sounds like you dance with your dyslexia too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an invisible partner that you move around, right?
Yeah, you know, even I'm a musician, so I play a lot of music, and sometimes I'll actually bring my guitar into brainstorms, or you know, I have in the past, and actually come up with ideas in that way, like kind of channels in a different way. So it's definitely it's all connected. The dancing, the music, definitely.
Yeah. So my question is all about sort of stereotypes, and what we're all trying to do is all of us are doing the same thing, in that we're trying to change this negative connotation that comes with being dyslexic. And we're delighted as well to let you know that we've got some new blood coming into this this sort of community. So there's two little chaps who've been sharing recently on Instagram who are doing their own thing. One of them is called the Dyslexic Detective. I reckon he's about 9 or 10. Yeah. And he has taken our book, and he goes through all of the participants and is saying what they're doing so well. Yeah. And actually, Jason Lilly, who's one of the artists in our book, was so moved. Yes. This is actually one of his fantastic prints here with gold leaf. He was so moved by this guy that he sent him this package to him at home, full of art materials, and it was so lovely. And
we've got George.
And
He's got an Instagram account called D for Dyslexia. Go check it out, because they have dyslexia merchandise. And I know a lot of dyslexia merch tends to be really naff, but this stuff is really designed. It's beautiful, and actually all the proceeds go to the BDA. So and he's a cool guy. He's a redhead, vibrant little 10-year-old
as well. He's using the book, you know, when he's having bad days at school. He's kind of coming back and looking at all of you inspirational people, and it makes him feel better. Yeah, and it makes him feel better. So we think that's really lovely. Yeah. But
George and Zach. George and Zachary, keep it going. You're doing fantastic things.
Yeah. But well, anyway, back to Mark, who we've got here. Okay. So tell us more about the I AM LEX, hashtag I AM LEX. So how did you come about it? What was it that you thought, when did you think, oh, actually dyslexia is a good thing in my life? And it's this just changing my perspective, and I'm going to sort of tell everybody else about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, growing up with dyslexia, being diagnosed at the age of 6, and being put into these resource classes, and kind of being, you know, this special needs, you know, this kind of dialogue, you know, having to leave classes where my friends or my peers were at, and go into something special. It felt, you know, like a little bit like I was different than everyone else. I was looked at differently. And I think through that experience, it made me feel like I had to hide or be different than who I am, so that I could fit in, or I wouldn't feel like I was being judged. And I think with that feeling, and with that kind of stereotype that was connected with that, and the stereotype that I was participating in, it, you know, transcended into my adulthood. So, you know, in school you have this help, and you are part of, you know, these resources, or, you know, you have extra time. But once you're out of school, your dyslexia doesn't go away, which I think you know, people think that maybe you're cured. It's still something, it's still a misconception about dyslexia. And in adulthood, you know, when you're in the working world, it's even more difficult, because, you know, you're afraid that, you know, you'll be judged because of your disability. And through this process, I realized that I don't want to hide anymore. I want to be able to own up to my greatest strengths. I want to be able to own up to who I am, and not have to be hiding The only thing is that I just felt like there was nothing out there that I could be proud or have confidence with. You know, something that would basically, you know, as I make this transition, that I can say like, I want to be a part of that. That's embracing the 21st century. That's embracing, you know, a new identity. And, you know, with everything, it's, you know, it's important to kind of give a new twist, especially to the modern age. And I feel like with dyslexia, the irony around it is we can't even spell dyslexia as dyslexic. And it's kind of laughable. It's like, you know, we like, how come, you know, we are called something that we can't even spell? So I thought, all right, you know what, let's focus on the core of the word. Let's get rid of the negative connotation, which is the dys, and let's focus on lex. It's clean, it's simple, it's smart, and like I said, you know, it's focusing on the dyslexic, and you know, let's embrace the real human-focused storytelling, art-driven aspect, and maybe this will make and change the stereotypes to something more positive. Let's focus on how if we didn't have, you know, a dyslexic, we wouldn't have the light bulb, we wouldn't have the automobile, the assembly line, you know, we probably wouldn't go to the moon. We wouldn't have so many different inventions, so many different incredible things that have been made by Lex. And so I really want to, you know, push this forward. I really want to make a difference and to bring it to Gen Z and the millennials, you know, something that they can be proud of, and so that, you know, these resource classes and this paradigm that is happening now around dyslexia, now it can be shifted to Lex, to something cleaner, smarter, and more fun. So this is kind of the direction that I'm taking it, and it's been a really incredible journey. And you know, I just want to connect all the dots, connect all the advocates, and just, you know, kind of bring that creative spark to the community.
And Mark, can I just say, all your visual language, all the photography and your typography on your Instagram account and your website is dynamic. So visually, you're already changing. You know, yeah, it's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, my wife actually is helping. Teresa is helping quite a bit with this. Her and I have created this and pushed it forward. So she's been really good with helping with the art direction and of course the copywriting as well, which has definitely been helpful. And yeah, it's been a great journey, and we're really excited to see where it leads to.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth and Charlotte, how have you sort of found that with Move Beyond Words? Because I mean, you've done you did a stunning piece of dance that you released that was a guy kind of in a box, wasn't it?
A bit like this.
escaping the constraints of being in a box. But can you tell us a bit more about your work with Move Beyond Words?
Yeah, this is always when we're like,
we're always like, we can't wait to be in the same room.
I mean, that's something to even mention. Like, we go to this because we set up Move Beyond Words in the pandemic. So we started, we were going to create a live piece of work with the V&A, which unfortunately got cancelled. And we used this support that we had and gravitated it towards the podcast, which we created in lockdown, and sort of found the solution to continue to create something creative and continue with that dialogue around dyslexia. But within lockdown, we created Move Beyond Words, and Move Beyond Words is here to amplify the voices of dyslexic artists. And Elizabeth and I are both dancers, dance artists, choreographers. And we really are reflecting on our experience in the studio. I think, like everyone's mentioned today, there are so many strengths with dyslexia and creativity.
Yeah. What was your aha moment then? When was it, Charlotte, that you thought actually dyslexia is good, and then did that change of attitude impact the way you did things? Because I mean, you have this fantastic notebook as well, don't you? Where you, instead of writing the moves down, you've made your own little language that only you can read, that tells you about movement, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think if we're creating movement in a journal, or like there's a different way of stimulating that. So I think you could sort of put descriptive words or feelings, or I'm doing this because, like, you'd be like, oh, I need something that's super direct, or I need something that's a little bit more gooey and fluid. And I suppose you start to develop like a phrase. We say like a dance phrase, which I guess is like a sentence, and that phrase is consisted of movements, and you think about the development of that movement. So I do have my notebook over there. For example, like here in Munich, we're creating a piece called Generation Goldfish, which is all about attention. And so apparently a movement that really grabs people's attention is struggle. So immediately I thought, you think of a fish out of water, something that's completely struggling. So start to think about what objects or what symbols, sounds, words are associated with that, and write it all down. I think it's I think especially starting to be out of lockdown as well as in lockdown, finding these physical ways of generating something or generating a language. It comes back to that first question, like about how you jump off the page or use the page to help jump off into the story. And I've gone off track of moving on words. What words is.
We were kind of playing with, Charlie and I kind of began our collaboration in 2018, and we were looking at ways that we could support dance artists in the studio, because there are so many difficulties within the dance sector that aren't talked about, they're not really voiced, and yet so many are dyslexic. You could have up to, we've kind of worked it out that there's around 40% who are dyslexic within one dance studio at a time, and that's just a shocking number to know that 40% of people are most likely struggling with the picking up of choreography. So something that we're working on at Move Beyond Words is practical tools that we can set, a resource page, and people can download practical tools to kind of work in the studio. So one thing Charlie's talking about, a phrase of movement, something that we're looking to continue exploring from our research and development, which was part of our initial collaboration, is this idea of sectioning movement off into colours, and then having a notebook that coincides with that colour, so that you will remember the phrase in a colour that might evoke feeling for you personally. So it wouldn't be set by the choreographer, it would be set by you and how you relate to that piece of choreography with that colour. And I think, really small things like that, a book that then you can kind of take notes from the director and choreographer as you're working in the studio and go back, and then you have that phrase in that colour, and it just, small things like that just really makes such a massive difference. And so we continue to seek those out, and with the amazing dancers that we've been working with now for a few years, how can we make the dance studio more inviting for those with dyslexia? We hope to continue to make that change. The industry is listening, which is exciting for us.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. In fact, was it Rob in the audience has asked a question? So it says, I wonder if you found that dyslexia can make it tough to follow others' moves, but allows you to be creative with your own movement.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you overcome that?
I think that's exactly where a great point that Liz mentioned about that book, that journal, to help write this information down, because I think if there's a lack of understanding of how your brain is going to retain that information, or how quickly you can respond as well. If someone says, we're going from the top, ready? And you may need a couple more seconds, minutes, to you know, to really think about that. And that's where Liz, you know, mentioned improvisation. That's I think also why people gravitate towards choreographing, or even dancers become fantastic collaborators, because they can contribute. And even if you're a student, you know, you can find your own way of arriving at that position, or tackling that exercise, which actually I think inspires the teachers as well, or at least opens the conversation up.
I think it's key for absolutely every industry, every person, isn't it? It's like understanding your weakness and then finding your own coping strategy that works for you, and it's different for everybody.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's something that we want to work with at Move Beyond Words. You know, we were speaking with 14-year-old dancers who struggle to say to the practitioner or facilitator that they have dyslexia and that they need this support. So I think it's definitely something we're working on that maybe we didn't have the confidence to do, that we want to ensure people and others do.
Yeah, I love what you guys are talking about, the tool to sort of manage, or to, again, I love the fact that you guys are choreographers and dancers, but dance with it, because it's really that relationship, right? And I know we've talked to a lot of different dyslexic in different industries. They use color, they use visualization, they use different ways to organize it. And often I found my own ways to organize it actually inspire my colleagues that are not dyslexic, because they're like, oh, we never saw spreadsheet, graphics, campaigns, or dancing that way, but now we can kind of actually use the tools that you use to kind of manage it all. And it definitely sheds lights and sort of make sure that we see the whole picture, the whole person, you know. Susanna, what kind of tools do you recommend for folks out there to be able to sort of embrace their whole dyslexia and their whole being? Any guidance you can give us on that?
Yeah, it can be hard from the beginning to see the whole picture of them of people by themselves. And I have a lot of courses, and right now I work a lot with adults with dyslexia. And from the beginning, it can be quite hard, because we have a quite strong text norm in our society, and we see our competences through this text norm. And we value our different ways, maybe different, because the text norm is so, I don't know if you know what I meant with the word text norm, but usually we have this, we value a lot when people can read and write very good, and not other things as high as the reading and writing parts. So that is that is one beginning to just start to see this text norm and how it affects us, and also what it does to ourselves through school, but also in working places. But then it's quite hard sometimes work to start to see the other things as well at the same time, and see the strong parts, and also see that we're different from each other. And so I work with people who they build houses, and they see the house in their mind before it is, because they use the holistic thinking and the global thinking and the 3D thinking, and they are very visual. So it's so important to also see the differences where we are better at than others. And when we start to see this whole picture, then it's, yeah, often it's a big difference for the person itself to just see that what's harder, but also what is easier for them, and see and take these difficulties and the differences serious, and see them. Yes.
Yeah. I love that. I love the idea that you focus on the positivity and you embrace it. You know, Veronica was asking, you know, how do you deal with having all these tools in personal life, and sometimes, you know, you feel maybe with others that they feel uncomfortable with it. And what I found, and I think goes to what you're saying, is that I celebrate it. So it's not that I'm trying to compensate by saying, oh, I can't do it, therefore I need these these tools is I can do these other things, and those things become more of actually, I tell everybody, first thing is like, I'm dyslexic, get it out of the way, and they're like, okay, whatever, but I think that it takes the tension out of the old paradigm. And again, as Elizabeth and Mark was saying about embracing your dyslexia, embracing LEX is really celebrating what it is, not just trying to find tools to deal with some of the challenges that we know we all have in different ages. So I think it's so powerful to get to that, again, your books, and to get to that truth, it's very cool. So, Mark, I'm just kind of jumping back and forth because I know we're starting to get to the top of the hour, but there's so much we can talk about. How do you tell your story and empower others to do the same? I know that you're working in branding, and that's so much about finding the story and the truth. As Susanna was saying, how do you use your dyslexia to empower others to do the same? What's some of your tips or kind of guidelines you can give us, or thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm really trying to embrace and to be, like comfortable just being very open about it. It's still a process. I think it's a process that I will always go through. And like I was mentioning, it's like I really want to be open about it. I want to come out about it. I don't want to feel like I'm going to be discriminated or lose opportunities because of it. But for me, it's when you're making a presentation, or you have a mistake, or somebody points something out that maybe is related to dyslexia, and you say it and you make it clear and you own up to it, it may be a little bit uncomfortable. Even with the question talking about, like, being open about it to people, they may be uncomfortable. They're not usually uncomfortable, and it's more you're uncomfortable. But if you embrace it and you say, hey, this is who I am. Steve Jobs probably made errors on his presentations. Albert Einstein was probably making some errors in his writings, and that doesn't define us. Reading and writing doesn't define us. But our words, our actions, are how we embrace new ideas, and especially speaking to all of you and going through this process. Every dyslexic person I talk to, like, we just love to jam and talk and brainstorm, and we love new ideas. We're very empathetic to each other. And so if you can embrace this and you can just say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I am, it makes everybody feel comfortable, and as well as yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
viciously here.
Go ahead. Say it again, Elizabeth.
I said I'm just nodding viciously, like, yeah, I agree. And to make a choice, a word is a word until you add meaning to it. And, it's a choice. We do have a choice in what we want dyslexia to mean, or LEX to mean. And that starts with us, and creating your own narrative, create your own story.
Right.
Yeah. And confidence, I guess. Is that what it brought? And changing perspective. So I still haven't got to the bottom of that aha moment when you suddenly realised that actually it was doing you a favour. Elizabeth?
Oh, me?
Yeah, can you remember? Or was it a gradual thing?
I think it was. I think it was a gradual thing. I think personally, the aha moment was when I kind of was in the industry and consistently going to auditions and getting to a certain place in the audition circuit. And I was just broken from the system that just was failing me. It was what's the word? Exploiting my weaknesses before I was able to show my strengths. And I just had to walk away from something that meant so much to me. And that moment of complete heartbreak after training from the age of 3 to becoming an adult and not being able to get where I knew I was meant to be was heartbreaking. And I think that was the moment that I decided I have to work out what dyslexia is and embrace it so that I can move forward. And I think, and change the system for the next generation. So I think my aha moment of embracing dyslexia, it's been a real challenge. And I think maybe, you know, having work shared at the Royal Opera House and the V&A, and, you know, having these institutions recognize the importance of my voice and the advocacy that we're doing at Move Beyond Words. Maybe that has been my aha moment. And just going beyond my belief of what I'm capable of. You know, I was from a very working class background, and there was a limit on what you could do as someone with dyslexia. We didn't really know what it was. And so I think continuing to push my fear boundary and what I thought dyslexia was, and continuing to do that is the aha moment. I think I live in the aha moment because I'm always going, oh, I can do that.
And you've just brought out a single, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
You brought out a song which is all about words.
That beautiful voice.
Does that have a meaning, that song?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that relates to dyslexia. It's it's about the journey of accepting the struggle and how you do that, and what it feels like to get on the other side of something that is painful and hard to handle. Yeah, definitely. That single definitely kind of represents the journey I've been on.
Yeah. What's the name of the single?
Pain. And it's Era.
It's on Spotify, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's Era, E-R-A, which are my initials, and the single is called Pain.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
Out now.
Yeah. Out now.
Gil, what was your aha moment? When did you suddenly see it as the good thing for you?
You know, there was a phase there that I didn't know that it wasn't an aha moment, and I just, you know, I think it has to do a lot with being seen by my family, not for what I can do, but what I can do, and really embracing the play and the tactility and the making and the experiencing with all the senses, and knowing that writing and reading is just another medium. So the question was always in my home was, do you understand the story? Do you understand the emotional, you know, background of it? And if you can, then you can express it in many different ways. It really became a challenge, obviously, as I went through early school and tried so very, very hard just to be average. And then really at some point just realized that I actually can paint worlds, but I can't write a simple sentence. And I was like, how is that I can see so much, but I can't express it? It becomes so dull when I put it on paper. And I think like what, you know, Mark and Elizabeth and everybody's been saying is just, I started to embrace it and actually sit with it versus try to run away from it. And by sitting with it and by embracing it, I actually start to find moments that I actually liked it and I liked myself for it. And then I start to sort of have more of a relationship with it. And the more you sort of embrace those challenges or shadows or, you know, moment that maybe are not as comfortable, they kind of tend to dissipate quicker, you know? And so for me, it was really, it's an every day, it's an ongoing relationship, you know, it's not a destination, it's a practice. You know, dyslexia didn't happen to us. We were born with it. And I'm dyslexic in every language and in every medium. So it's not the kind of thing I'm trying to get over or to fix. It's the thing I'm trying to really more embrace and celebrate. And I think, you know, Keen, Kathy, you know, you bringing so many of us around the world together to have these stories, and all of you wonderful folks joining us today through the chat. And so for me, it's really this is what it looks like to embrace this amazing, beautiful gift that allows us to always negotiate non-negotiable archetypes, you know. And so I think every morning I do what I can to just wake up and say, I'm so glad I'm dyslexic, you know, like how lucky did I get, you know? So.
And what is it you said in the book? How anyone can run out of ideas? You just can't understand that.
Yeah, you know, to me, it's just like I've learned how to, by observation, by embracing into how to slow sometimes dyslexia down, you know, and with simple things, you know, breathing, being more present, trying to sort of write it down, but you don't have to always put it out there. But because I think what dyslexia is, where it's challenged with writing, is we see non-negotiable things negotiable, like the alphabet, right? To me, when I see the letters, I don't see a non-negotiable shape. I see something that's graphical, that has meaning, size, shapes, texture, tactility, stories that comes through it. And all I'm trying to do is read the word cat, you know, but I don't see a cat. I see a universe of nature and exploding. And I was like, okay, I'm just trying to read this and then report back on what I understood. So I think that part of dancing with it is to feed that, you know. I think, as Charlie, you were saying, it's a bit like it's all, you have all the mediums in the fingers tips, you know. So finding, for some of the questions of the folks in the chat too, finding what gives you contentment, what do you enjoy to do, and then do more of that, you know. And by doing more of that, you're going to discover that actually you love to dance, you love to play, you love to design, you love to talk, you love to ideate, you love to solve problems, invent worlds. As I think Mark was saying with his beautiful campaign, you know, the world as we know it now happened by accidents of these dyslexic that just found solutions to things that sometimes they didn't even look for, but they were open for it, you know. So I love being dyslexic, and I think that there's never a dull moment, and it's just so it's the most beautiful thing. It takes a bit to get there, but as you said, Elizabeth, you know, it's every day. Before you know, you're like, wow, I love most of it. I love all of it, you know, and then we can just sort of share that, right? So yeah, you know, one thing that I know a lot of folks in the chat as we're coming to the top of the hours, you know, want to know, and maybe we'll start with you, Susanna, is what would you say to younger self, knowing where you are today? Is there any advice you can give to some of folks out there that are learning how to embrace their dyslexia? Any takeaways from you?
When I was 12 years, my parents showed me a picture, and it was very important for me. It was a picture on different animals, and there was the teacher in front of them, and the teacher say to the animals that now you're going to climb a tree. And it was much easier for some of the animals, but it was very hard for an elephant, for example. So that picture became very important for me as a 12-year-old girl, because I understand our differences in another way, and that we should be different, and that's the point. So I think that's a picture I can recommend, and I think a lot of you have seen it already. But I think that's a picture was very important for me as a child, and it was my start to get a way of seeing dyslexic and find the perspective to it. So that can be my suggestions.
Yeah,
Yes.
That kind of picture.
Yes. Charlotte, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say face your challenges with a sense of humor. Because, yeah, if you're too hard on yourself, it's too detrimental. So always have a bit of a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Beautiful, so important.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Elizabeth?
Be kind to yourself. You don't have to prove anything. that would be it.
Yeah. Laughing and being, lighthearted and embracing that definitely helps. If nothing else, you just get to be a little lighthearted and laugh at yourself. So I love that. It's also, playing, right? It's what it's about. And dyslexic are so good in playing, and as we know that innovation and as we know as new expressions come from just letting go and and doing that. I don't know if we lost Mark, but I think that maybe he has some camera issue. Mark, are you still there? You are.
I'm still here.
Oh, perfect. For some reason on my screen you went away, but good, because I would love to hear what would you say to your younger self.
Definitely. I would have to say, just keep exploring. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just focus on what you're good at. Just continue doing what you love, and don't let the negative comments or the judge around you impair that. Just, keep your eyes forward and focused, and you'll be all right.
Yeah. I would say that you most likely will be much more than all right with your campaign and all the people that you highlighted as amazing Lex out there. As I often love to share with younger dyslexic is that you are in an amazing company of global people doing amazing things. So there may be a moment there that trying to figure out and trying to be normal is maybe not exactly in the cards, but you're part of this elite group of amazing folks. I am so thankful to all of you to join us today. Kate and Kathy, thank you so much for always bringing this conversation to the world and bringing these amazing people together and allowing us to express the positive aspects of dyslexia. Thank you to our guests. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dyslexic Design Thinking. We have a lot more great content coming, so make sure to like and subscribe. Dyslexic Design Thinking is produced by Gershoni Creative, created in partnership with amazing dyslexics.